out your paints and you try to match it directly to whatever it is you're trying to paint and you struggle with it, then this video is for you. A lot of people will pull out their paint, whether it's liquid or pan or whatever, and put it up against whatever they're trying to paint and just hope that it's as close as it can get, which if you're doing something like plants or flowers, it may not be terrible, but if you really want to get good at making colors, and this is a really simple exercise and it will help tremendously. So what I do is I'm using this example of wanting to match the colors up on this plant that I have next to me. So I'm going to pick 4 or 5 colors that I think are closest to it and create a swatch sheet. And the best way to do this, I think, is to split it up into 2 different sections on the same swatch sheet with doing wet on wet and wet on dry. So you're going to write the colors in the same exact order down the left and across the top. Then you are just going to create a swatch of those colors. I suggest starting with the pure colors, and pure colors are the ones that they end up going down the middle diagonal, which is what I'm doing right now. So you can see the sap green and the sap green together is what I started with, and now I'm doing the olive green and the olive green together, and this kind of splits your paper into 2. And this is just kind of an easy way to jump into it, to just kind of make it easier on your brain. And I have to say that most people who do this the first time, they do mess it up because it's just a little bit of a mental trick, and I still I've done this a million times, and I still kind of have to think through it and kind of stop and be like, okay, what am I doing again? So if it gets confusing, you're not alone. It'll get easier, I promise. So when I say I want to split the top and the bottom with wet on wet, wet on dry, so now you can see I'm doing the sap green and olive green section. There's 2 times this repeats, so the one above the middle line I'm doing wet on dry, and the one below it I'm doing wet on wet. So what I do first is I apply just the wet square to the bottom half of whatever color I'm mixing. Then I mix my 2 colors, and then I apply that color to both the wet square I just did as well as the dry square in the top. That means that I end up with the exact same color mix, but one is wet on wet, one is wet on dry. So I'm doing the phthalo green and the sap green, and as you can see, I'm starting with the water first, and now the beige, and you can kind of see the water here a little bit easier because it's reflecting off the light. So as you can see, I'm doing the water first, then I'm adding the color mix to the bottom part of it, and I'm going to just take that same exact color and apply it to the top where it's dry. And I like this because it's more consistent. You have the same mix on your brush, and that way you get to really see what it is true to wet on wet and wet on dry. And you can also, with the pure colors, you can kind of see I did it a little bit more concentrated towards the left of the square and lightened it up a bit towards the right of it, just to kind of see what it is when the colors are a little bit more layered. This isn't something you have to do, but it does kind of help, and I would recommend the first time you're doing this, just trying to keep it pretty simple and doing the wet on wet and wet on dry. The other thing that's really nice, so these are my greens, right? You can do this, one, if you get a brand new palette, if you use pans and you have these new colors, you kind of want to see what they do. This is a good thing to do to just test out your new colors. Also, you could do these in color themes, which I love, because if, let's say, you want to do roses, there's so many different shades of pinks and reds and oranges and yellows and purples. You could just do a whole section of purples, but, you know, throw in a little wild card color in there, a blue, a brown, just to see what happens with that color. And then when you go to paint your flowers, or you paint whatever it is you're painting, you have this swatch card, and you've got all these colors that you've created yourself that you can now reference. And this is also a great way if you are the person who mixes a color on your palette and you're like, I really like that color, but I don't remember what I did. This is also a nice reference key. Some people do find this exercise quite tedious. I hated it when I first started doing it, but now I just kind of find it therapeutic. Once you get the hang of it, I think it changes a bit. When I first did it, it was absolutely tedious, and now I was going to say hideous. When it was actually hideous too. When I first did it, it was tedious, and now it's therapeutic. So, ooh, I just choked on my own words. So now I'm taking my swatch and I'm putting it up against the leaves to see which one is the closest to the colors. As you can see, the top leaves are a little bit lighter green. They have a little bit of the beige in them. And the bottom leaves are a little bit darker green. And you can see once I put these colors, and these are colors I picked directly from the swatch, I got a perfect match to that leaf, including the little brown edges. And this is just a really, you do this and you're like, oh, there it is. And then you don't have to worry. You can go get your coffee. You can go get a glass of wine. You can come back and voila, there it is. Your colors mixed together. And you're like, I don't have to remember what I did because I have notes taken and I know exactly what color mixes I have. So now I'm just doing my own swatch specifically to the leaves. And as you can see, it is a near perfect match. And of course, one is watercolor and one is a real leaf, so it's not going to be the exact same thing, but there it is. So my last trick is one that I've recently learned from doing my watercolor retreat, because I got to spend a whole weekend with the same artist and got to see some of their habits, which I don't really get from class to class. And one of the habits that I try to break them of is washing their palettes after each painting. And I know I'm a little bit of a clean freak, so it's hard to leave a palette dirty. But as you can see, you have all these really beautiful colors that kind of mix together. And you can just go back and reference it, and you can just pull that color off your palette. And the thing with liquid watercolors and some other watercolors is that you could just reactivate it with water, and there it is. And you can just see, I don't have to mix all these colors up. I'm just pulling different shades from different things and creating really cool, fun colors, including, there it is, skin tone, which is not easy to do. It's just sitting on my palette and I always have it ready to go. So that's my trick of the day. Thanks for watching.